Hi you guys, good morning. Today in math what we are doing is we are working on page 246, and what we'll use this paper for is just to pick the numbers off of the apple trees that we're going to combine and add together. That way we get more practice using adding two-digit numbers, and today we're going to use a method that I haven't shown you yet called 10 below, and it's just another way that you can figure out the answer when you're combining and adding numbers together. So please have either a whiteboard out to be writing equations and whatever I write down, or you can do it on a blank piece of paper. Alright, so today we're working on 10 below. The first thing that we need to do is off of our paper we need to choose the two numbers that we want to add together. So let's go ahead and let's add together, let's do, which one? Let's do 36 plus 19. 36 plus 19. So when you use the method of 10 below, the first thing you want to do is you want to write your equation from top to bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and write my 36. And when you're writing an equation from top to bottom, when you write your other numbers, what you need to make sure that you're doing is writing your tens in a column in your tens place, and your ones in a column in your ones place. So my number is 19, so I'm going to line it up right below 36. 19 is 110, and then I'll put my 9 ones from 19 right under my 6 ones from 36. Now we draw our plus sign over here to the side. Mrs. Lloyd puts it even a little bit over here because sometimes what you'll find is when you're adding two numbers together, sometimes you even actually get a number that's a 3-digit number that you end up having to use your hundreds place, especially as you do this more and more. So if I were to show you with lines, these numbers in their different places, just to remind you, these numbers would be in your ones place, these numbers would be in your tens place, and this area over here is actually called your hundreds place. That's why I kind of leave space there in case we end up ever going over and ending up with a number that's like 100 or bigger, which we won't today, but it's just good to start doing, making sure that when you write equations, you write them in a neat way so that your ones are lined up, your tens are lined up, and you even have a little area in your hundreds place with your plus sign and then your equal sign. All right, so after we write our equation for the method 10 below, the first thing we're going to do is draw our sticks and circles, our tens and our ones. So 36 has 3 tens and 6 ones. 19 has 1 10 and 9 ones. So I drew my sticks and circles just like we've been doing. The whole idea of using 10 below though is to get to the point where you can do this and you don't always have to draw your sticks and circles. But right now I want you to keep drawing your sticks and circles. So now that we have our tens and ones drawn, or our sticks and circles, we look and see, do we have a group of 10, a new group when we look at all of the ones. Now here's our ones right here, right? We had 6 plus 9. I can already tell you for sure that that is going to be a new group of 10 because 9 only needs 1 from 6. I need to take this guy and put it over here with the 9, and then I'll have a new group of 10. I can also just think in my head, what is 6 plus 9? And I can tell you right away it's 15. So let's go ahead and let's circle a new group of 10. I'm going to take this 9 and I'm just going to take 1 from above, 10. And now you see the answer 15. 6 plus 9 is actually 15. So here's my 5 extra ones. I'm going to go ahead and write it right here under my 9, below my 9 in my ones place, because that's the new number that I have in my ones place. Now this new group of 10 right here that I circled, I want to make sure I remember that is a 10. So I'm going to put the 1 in 15 right here below the tens place on my equal sign. So you can kind of imagine, look, if this was a tiny 5 and I moved it up into the equal sign, see how 1 and 5, see how that exactly looks like 15? Here, let me do this. See? 15. So all I did when I drew that 1, when I realized 6 ones plus 9 ones, 9 ones right here equals 15, is I put my 5 ones here, and my 1 from my 1 group of 10 that I could make goes into my tens place. So now I just add my tens up. What are 3 tens plus 1 10? 3 plus 1 is 4, plus that 1 more group of 10 that I made is 5. So the answer is 55. And this method is called 10 below. And the reason that we call it that is because that new group of 10 we have, when we have a number that when we add up our ones is 10 or bigger, we put the 10 below right here on the equal sign so that we can imagine 15 right there. So 6 plus 9 is 15. And then I just put my 10 in my tens place and my 5 ones right there. So when we get to the point where we don't need to draw our sticks and circles anymore, and we're just looking at our equation only, we can go 6 plus 9 is 15. I draw my 5 down here. I put my 1 10 in my tens place on my equal sign, seeing how it looks like the number 15, which is a tiny one. And then I add up the numbers in my tens place. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. And the answer is 55. So that's why we start practicing 10 below. But for right now, we're still going to draw our tens and our ones. But we're going to hopefully get to a point where we can do it like this. A lot of your parents will have learned that when they do this, they go 6 plus 9 is 15, and they put the 1 in the 15 on top here and the 5 in the ones place down here. But the problem with that is that it's harder for you to see that 1 and 5 made the number 15 below. It made the number 15, right? And with the 1 all the way up there, sometimes it's harder for us to see that that was the number 15. That's why some really smart person at math decided to start putting it right here, because it's easier to see the number 15 right here. Even though the 1 is tiny, we can still see, oh, 1 in the tens place, 5 in the ones place, that's the number 15. And then another reason, and I'm saying this in case your parents are watching, that we don't put the 1 in the tens place up here is because sometimes then you guys want to add these two numbers first, and it kind of changes the equation. So usually we would just say, what is 3 plus 1? That's 4, plus 1 more, that's 5, okay? So that's why we are doing the 10 below instead of on top, but you can actually do it either way. Remember that in math, the very coolest thing is you get to learn all these different ways to do something and hopefully understand why all of the different ways work, and then you get to pick the way that is best for you. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do 24 off of this page plus 9 with 10 below method. So 24 plus 9. Oh no, did Mrs. Lloyd do a puzzled penguin? Oh, I hope that you see I did. So here, imagine little puzzled penguin saying, am I right? No, puzzled penguin. Mrs. Lloyd, you're wrong. Because if I have 24 plus 9, I can't put 9 in my tens place. Remember, this place we have to imagine that all numbers, this place right over here would be our tens, and this would be our ones. So 9, if I put that in the tens place, what I'm saying is 90. And 90 and 9 are very different numbers. So we can't write it that way. So you have to be really careful when you only are adding ones to a 2-digit number that you line it up in the right spot. So I'm going to be super careful and write 24 plus 9. See how my 4 ones is right above my 9 ones. This is my ones place. This is my tens place. So again, I put my plus sign over to the side, and then I draw my equal sign. Now I'm going to draw my sticks and circles. 24 is 2 tens and 4 ones. And then 9 ones is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I'm looking at the equation only, I can see I'm adding 4 plus 9 first. And 4 plus 9, I already know that. It's 13. But let's go ahead and let's show it on our circles. I want to take 1 from 4 and put it right there to make 10 and 3. And then we know 10 and 3 is 13 because that's one of our numbers. So now I see that I have 3 ones left in a group of 10, 13, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I put my 3 extra ones down here, and my one group of 10 from the number 13 goes below my tens place right there on the equal sign. Now I just add the numbers in my tens place. I had 2 tens, and I didn't have any here, but now I have a new group of 10. So I'm saying 2 plus 1 equals 3. And if I count this up, I could go 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33. Okay, now if you are getting to the point where you're starting to understand this, then I want to show you how this looks. So whenever you're doing 10 on top or 10 below, you're always going to start adding your numbers in your ones place first. So 4 plus 9 is 13. So there you can see how when I put my 10 below right there, it looks like the number 13, right? I put the 3 ones down here, and the 10 and 13 goes in the tens place. And then I add my numbers in the tens place. 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. So the answer is 33. And that's how we're using the 10 below method. All right, let's go ahead and pick some more trees. Let's do 5 plus 40. 5 plus 40. Now this is interesting. I could write 5 plus 40 2 different ways. I could write it 5 plus 40. Oh, but you got to be so careful here that your 5 ones and your 0 ones line up and your tens line up. What Mrs. Lloyd always feels better doing is by putting the bigger number on top. I always think that's better. So instead of drawing it that way, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the bigger number on top and say 40 plus 5 ones equals. And this is how I want it to look, because that other way was kind of weird for my brain. Remember how whenever we're adding and we have to like count up, we always start with the bigger number? So let's always put the bigger number on top. It really doesn't matter. We would get the same answer anyway, but it's just easier to make sure our ones are in the right place and our tens are in the right place. So remember, when I look at this equation, it's like I'm looking at places. And this is my ones place, and this is my tens place, right? So my ones place, I'm basically adding 0 plus 5. So Mrs. Lloyd already knows that I'm not going to get a new group of 10. But I'm still going to go ahead and draw my proof picture with sticks and ones, sticks and circles to show and prove my answer. So 40 is 4 tens and 0 ones. I don't have any ones. Plus 5, that's just 5 ones, right? And so then I look and say, can I make a new group of 10? Well, 0 plus 5 is smaller than 10. That's just 5. So I can't make a new 10. So then I can just write my answer below my answer line. How many ones do I have? 0 plus 5 is 5. How many tens do I have? 4 plus none, 0, is 4. And my answer is 45. Now, what I could have done for this equation was a totally different method I taught you before. Instead of even doing 10 below or drawing sticks and circles, I could have just said, well, 40 is a decade number, right? So if I put 5 over where the 0 is in the decade number, it's my answer 45, because I wasn't adding any ones here. All I was doing was adding a decade number. That's any number that we say when we're counting by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, any number that ends in 0. If you're adding ones to it that are less than 10, then you just put that number over the 0 and that's your answer. So if you remember how to do that, I think that would be easier than even having to write out a problem, right? So always be thinking of everything in math and thinking and looking at your numbers saying, how can I solve this? All right, let's go ahead and pick a couple more. Let's go ahead and do 20 plus 53. 20 plus 53. Remember, I'm just going to start with the bigger number on top. So I'm going to say 53 plus 20. 53 plus 20. Lining up my ones and my tens. Here we go. Now, looking at this equation, I see I have 53 and I'm adding just 2 tens. So I'm basically just adding 2 10 sticks, right? One method that you could do if you feel comfortable with this is you could just count up changing the number in the tens place. So I could go 53, 63, 73. And the only reason I could do that is because I understand that I'm only adding tens, I'm not adding any ones. So that is a strategy that we learned to solve numbers when we're adding only tens, is just starting with a number that has tens and ones and changing the number in the tens place, adding 10 each time. 53, 63, 73. But let's pretend like we can't do that method. Let's go ahead and draw our sticks and circles. 53 is 5 tens and 3 ones. And 20 is 2 tens. So now I'm just going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73. Just like that. And I couldn't make a new group of 10 there because there were only 3 ones, right? The other method that Mrs. Lloyd showed you, let me show you how it looks with my picture if I wanted to just count up by tens. If I know this is 53, then I just would count up 63, 73. And that's my answer. But again, I can only do that if I'm not adding any extra ones here, right? Otherwise, it gets kind of complicated. All right, so we didn't need grouping and make a new group of 10 on that one. It's just how the apples fell. Let's look at our last 2 trees. I have 30 and 2. 30 plus 2. Well, right away, I can tell you I have a decade number 30 that ends in 0 plus 2 extra ones. I would, to get the answer here, you could do 2 really easy things besides even drawing pictures. You could just imagine this 2, because all I'm adding is 2 ones, and put it over the 0 to get your answer. Imagine our secret code cards, 30 plus 2. Take the 2 and cover the 0, and you get your answer of 32. Or, because I'm adding such a small number to a big number, I could just count up using my fingers, right? Because if we're adding a really small number to a big 2-digit or 3-digit number, it's okay, just count up because this number is so small. So 30, put it in our head, 30, 31, 32. And I could get my answer. So those 2 ways would be the easiest way to solve this equation. But let's pretend like we forgot about that and we draw our sticks in circles. So 30 is 3 10s, 10, 20, 30, and 2 ones. Remember, this has to be in the ones place. It's just like that. So let's count it up. 10, 20, 30, 31, 32. And I get my answer of 32. All right. So that is our lesson for today. We're all done combining our apples. If you want more practice with these, what you can do is you can combine different trees. So like I could say, what is 5 plus 20? Or I could say, what is 24 plus 19? Or I could say, what is 36 plus 53? So these numbers are just here floating around on these apple trees for you so that you can pick 2 of them, put them together to make an equation, and then use a strategy to solve it. So remember, today we worked a little bit on 10 on the bottom, 10 below, but we actually didn't get a ton of practice with that because look at these. We had so many numbers that were decade numbers that ended in 0. And then we had some numbers that were just ones. So if we ended up combining those, like 20 plus 2, I know that's 22. 30 plus 9, well, I know if I put the 9 over the 0, that's 39. So we don't always make a new group of 10 when we're combining numbers. Sometimes our ones aren't enough, aren't 10 or more to make a new group of 10. But that's what this page is for. So you guys go ahead, and if you want some more practice, then work on writing equations and drawing your sticks and circles to combine them. See if you can make a new group of 10. Look at the numbers you're combining and say which way is the best way to figure this out. All right, you guys, great job today adding with 2-digit numbers. I'm proud of you.